My name is Keitha Lothario, and I led a task group on Sunday, August 5th at 7:15 p.m., which took place at my parents' home. There were 6 members, not including myself, my mom, my dad, my brother, and 3 friends. There was not a co-leader since this group formed only for the purpose of this assignment, and the purpose of this group was to develop marketing strategies for my father's business that has failed to stay relevant in our social media-driven society. The meeting did stray a little from my initial proposal as 2 members were actually late, making us start 45 minutes later than planned. Not only that, but not all of the intended topics were addressed, thus shortening the proposed time by 30 minutes. At the very beginning of the meeting, when I announced that we were starting, one of the members immediately took the floor and began to ask questions. I had to cut him off, which was well received, and proceeded as planned with the sentence completion round, an overview of the rules and my role, and then a brief word from my dad, the business owner. I intended to then split the group into dyads to discuss social media, but the introduction by my father flowed so naturally into the discussion about social media that I felt it best to be flexible and allow the conversation to shift naturally. What I noticed as I scanned the room is that the younger members, those who studied marketing, began to share their ideas about social media and how it should be incorporated into the business. And then the older members, those associated with the business, their nonverbals seemed to be in disagreement with what was being said. I brought these things to the older members' attention and asked how they were responding to this information. One member in particular did not fully understand the value of what was being shared and had a hard time accepting the importance of social media. To help him feel more settled, I reminded him of these members' expert power, the fact that they are either currently studying or working in the marketing field, and asked him to listen more openly to what they were saying. Thankfully, there was not much conflict in this group, but I would categorize this portion of the meeting as the storming stage. After this point, the group seemed to move into a place of norming. Around 10 minutes later, the conversation began to get off topic. I cut off the conversation and asked if, before we shift topics, we felt that a decision had been reached about which platform to use. When everyone responded confidently, I asked members if we could first discuss the content and frequency of the social media post, keeping with the plan. That topic was discussed successfully and, again, started to get off topic after a while, which is when I announced that we would split into dyads to brainstorm potential promotional ideas. As the dyads were talking, I walked around and listened on each conversation for 10 to 20 seconds. When I noticed one of the groups getting off topic, I simply reminded them of the task at hand. After about 5 minutes, I noticed that 2 of the 3 groups were done discussing, so I gave the last group a minute warning to wrap things up, and then we transitioned back to a large group and shared our ideas. When I asked the first pair to share what they had come up with, they gave one very vague idea. When I asked to expand on their idea, they didn't have more to say. These 2 members, although closely tied to this business, seemed to lack collective cohesion. It seemed as though they did not feel very invested in this business. Instead of letting the entire group get caught up in their bad attitudes, I simply moved on to the next 2 groups and productive discussion ensued from there. What was interesting, however, was the social influence that took place towards the end of the group. One of the members from the first dyad, who did not say much, started to give a lot of input towards the last couple minutes of the meeting. This particular member just began dating one of the other members, one of the more invested members, and when she started to contribute a lot and talk about her ideas, he started to contribute a lot and talk about his ideas, even though he was previously silent and uninterested. When I suggested it was a good time to switch topics to the menu, my father suggested that we had covered enough information that we should just end where we were at, and the group agreed, so I summarized what we had covered and the strategies we planned to implement, and we ended the meeting. Coming into this meeting, I knew that I had members who liked to talk a lot and members who were going to be more quiet. I was nervous because I didn't know how I would handle both drawing members out and cutting them off, but I surprised myself in my ability to do so. For instance, in the beginning of the group, 2 members were doing most of the talking and really were just talking back and forth to each other. As I was scanning the room, I noticed that another member looked as if she wanted to say something but could not find an opportunity to talk. I gently interjected and simultaneously cut off the 2 members who were having a conversation and drew out the member by calling her name and asking if she had anything to add, which she did. One challenge I encountered as I kind of anticipated, was handling some of the more opinionated members. For example, when I asked members to split into dyads and discuss potential promotions, 2 members actually asked if that was necessary and tried to protest it. I felt attacked and kind of caught off guard by their unwillingness to participate, and I'm sure that my face showed it. However, I think I responded okay, definitely somewhat defensively, and just mentioned the value of splitting into dyads instead of just sharing ideas initially in the bigger group. The members did comply, but they were open about their aversion to doing so. One thing I wish I'd done differently was host the meeting somewhere else. For whatever reason, I did not review the comments left on my proposal, which is so unlike me, and I didn't see the suggestion to move the meeting to a more professional setting. Having it at my parents' home definitely made it feel a little bit too relaxed. It was interrupted once or twice by other family members, and the dog started barking once, and having it in a more professional setting could have helped the tone of the meeting be more serious. All in all, leading this group was not as hard as I expected it to be. I truly surprised myself at how well I was able to cut off members and shift the focus when it needed to be shifted. Reflecting on everything that transpired, I have 2 important and somewhat contradictory takeaways. Planning is vital to leading a group, and being flexible when the plan changes is just as important. I'm the type of person who hates when plans are not followed to the T, so this lesson is definitely one that was important for me to learn. In the future, I hope to be more confident in leading and to work on my nonverbals. And although my pre-planning was well thought out, I did not account for the plan changing, and I need to have backup exercises and activities planned if I lead groups in the future. As nervous as I was for this project, I am thankful for it and the confidence I gained from it. After all, practice makes perfect. Thank you.